And we are back on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. It's Jonathon Howe, Travis Cunningham, and we are live for, well, not necessarily live, but we're going live on episode 50. This recording presented, of course, by Oshweekend Speedway, as well as BRP, Bicknell Racing Products. And shout out as well to Vansicle Pet Value and Lundy's Lane Pet Value, where you can go and grab your Merrittville Speedway race tickets before each and every Saturday night. Travis, episode 50, we've officially hit the half century mark. Who comes to mind when you think of the number 50?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a little bit harder on this one, but got to shout out Neil Fontaine, Jason Fontaine's dad. I'm pretty sure it's Neil, and I think the Fon started his career in a 50 street stock as well. And then he switched to the 1J. So Fontaine family, Neil Fontaine mostly.
I'm going to take the 50 LS crate sprint car of Adrian Staley. I also feel like I'm picturing a blue 50 Hoosier stock, but I can't think of who the driver is. And I went back and checked the points from last year, and they didn't run. So maybe it was back from like my 2019 year, and I just can't think of who it is. But maybe it'll come to me, or maybe somebody out there in the audience can tell me who ran a 50 street stock lately in the last, like, I don't know, 3-4 seasons at Merrittville or Oshweekend. But speaking of Merrittville, we've got racing action from Merrittville to talk about. Mother Nature finally cooperating. We finally got the opening race night in, Loop Paint Night on May 6th. If you missed it, I've been doing some recap videos, and we're doing some more social media stuff. So check out Merrittville's social media at Merrittville Speedway on Instagram, on TikTok, at Merrittville on Twitter, and of course the Merrittville Speedway Facebook page. And that'll keep you up to date with all things Merrittville. But we should talk about our winners. Of course, Matt Williamson, who's going to join us a little later on the show, wins the opening 358 mod feature. And it was a pretty solid race between he and Gary Lindbergh. Lindbergh definitely kept him honest, but it was definitely Matt Williamson's night.
Definitely. Yep, good little race there to keep it honest. And 21 cars. I like to see that.
Yeah, very solid field of modifieds. Had a chance to talk to Dalton Slack this week. He was somebody who he kind of explained it that, like, on the second run after, I think it was the second restart maybe they had, or maybe the third one, he kind of burned his stuff up. But he was one of those drivers who found a lane that nobody else was using, and he was making up a lot of time. So that was really cool to see for Dalton. Ryan Susi had one heck of an up and down night. We also should shout him out because he put a Southern Ontario Dirt Show sticker on
Yeah.
the side of the car. So we'll see how he performs now that thing's on the side of it. But he had an up and down night as the defending co-champion. But a night belonged to Matt Williamson. Over in the this is so funny because I remember I was talking a big game about how I'm expecting all these surprises, and that, I think the first night of Merrittville is going to be a bit maybe chaotic. We're going to see a bunch of different names up there. We really didn't. It was like we picked up exactly where we left off in 2022. Sportsman, we had a great duel again between Cody McPherson and James Friesen.
Yeah, what a shocker. I am less shocked than you.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking this way, but the cream of the crop always rises to the top at Merrittville, and I should know better.
JMF's always good for an opening night win, and he almost had it, but not this year. Lucky Seven took her away.
Yep.
Tough break for our boy Paul Gabori. Came out and then had some pretty bad damage to his car after first night out after, I think, 4 years. Our buddy
Yeah.
Rick Paul. That stunk. What else happened in that race? Mainly, I was
Um,
watching JMF and Cody.
well, it was just a classic duel between the two of them. I mean,
Who was the top five?
Friesen ended up running that outside line that he's so. It's kind of like his patented line. I feel like at this point, right? That
Yeah.
JMF, especially on the exit of 4, like all the way out there, put the hammer down, and that's how it almost allowed him to get up alongside Cody at the end there. But Friesen led most of the race. Cody got him late. Also in the top 5, Brent Bigelow ended up P3. Chad Chevalier in his
Yeah,
return to the
Bigelow's the
Sportsman
one I
ends
was
up
thinking
4th,
of.
and
Bigelow
Adam
family.
Leslie also ended up 5th. So pretty solid
Chevalier
nights.
back in the Sportsman.
That's the guy I've got circled, man. Like, I know
And
he was, he started 9th, so he had a little bit of a deeper run through the field, but still picked up 5 spots. So I think it give Heavy Chevy a little bit more track position, and I think he's going to be right up there with Friesen and McPherson, and even Brent. I think Brent's going to have, if he decides to run a full Sportsman schedule this year, I think he's going to have a really good effort this year.
Yep, all those guys definitely no strangers to running good at Merrittville.
No, for sure. No strangers to running good at Merrittville and the Hoosier Stocks either. Dave Bailey, Rob Murray show, and
Surprise!
I know, right? Why did I think there was going to be all these surprises? Even you know what, Mark
You're still
Fawcett's.
a little new. It's okay.
I know. I don't know. I kind of was. I don't know. I had this feeling like things were going to be different. Mark Fawcett started on pole. He brought home third. He's keeping the momentum going. He was probably one of the hottest Hoosier stock drivers of the last half a season, last quarter of a season at Merrittville last year. He picked up where he left off. And how about the big dog? I want to give a shout out to Ryan Beagle. Picked up 14 spots, started 18th to finish fourth in that 84 RK.
Yeah, I watched him do that all year in the BRPI racing series. Other than he was starting probably up more up front than that, but
Yeah,
yeah, not a shocker. He had little numbers on his car, not lettered yet. Looked cute.
yeah,
Good job,
yeah.
Beaks.
It was kind of funny, eh?
Yeah.
Good job, Beagle. Over in the mod lights, Josh Slider starts from pole and he runs the show there. Has the Savage Chassis 17 figured out. I kind of was wondering how he would perform out of the gate because I feel like last year he built himself a brand new car and it kind of took him almost, would you say, like the 3/4 of the mark, 3/4 of the way through the season to really finally pull all the bugs out of
Yeah,
that
at
thing
least
and
half.
be yeah, and Brent Bigelow ended up, capitalizing on that and winning a lot of races early in the season. I think he had a stretch of like 6 or 5 feature wins in a row or something crazy like that. So Brent was right there with him, but ended up P2. Tyler Winger ended up third. Sean Iftati, Chris Watson rounding out the top five. Got to give Chris Watson a shout out. New look on that 07 car. Pretty sharp looking ride for a mod light.
Yep. Uh, Similar, but yeah, just a little bit better. I like it.
Yeah, there's a little bit more movement in the paint scheme. It looks good when it's
Yeah.
going at speed. Maybe the only surprise of the night, and maybe it's just a surprise just because we didn't really hear much of his name last year in the four cylinders. But Alex Riley comes out of the gate, starts sixth, ends up winning it in a bit of a he kind of stole it from Cole Hardy, who had to settle for ninth after having a tire go flat with 3 laps to go. The fact that he was able to get that 7C back around for 2.5 more laps on 3 wheels was pretty impressive and still stay inside the top 10. So shout out to Cole. He proved he's got plenty of speed, started on the outside of the pole, dominated that race. But Alex Riley steals it in the end. Nick Erskine, that is a driver from Test and Tune that I circled and said, you know what? I think Nick's going to be pretty good. He capitalized on starting up towards the front half of the field and brought it home P2. Austin Worstro third, Clinton Barrick fourth, and Hannah Rothwell fifth. So really good night for TMR Racing. The TMR gang had 3 inside the top 5. So
Yeah, no shocker there. But yeah, Alex Riley, he was pretty competitive a few years ago. Did he get a championship? I know he won a lot of races. I remember interviewing a bunch.
well, we are going to ask him. We
Yeah,
can
we are
talk
going
to
to
him
ask him
about it a
that.
little bit. Kind of get a catch up on his career, where he's been
But he's
the
back.
last couple of years. Now that he's back, and I was kind of thinking about it, and this is something I want to ask him. But with Tyler LaFontaine moving up to Hoosier Stock, it kind of seems like maybe he's poised to be the next Tyler LaFontaine of that team. Driver who's got some experience, has got the winning resume, the pedigree. Maybe he can be the guy who takes over and dominates that series. But we'll see what happens. We'll talk to him a little bit later in the show. Busy, this is kind of like our 1 year anniversary, half century mark show. So we got 3 guests on it. It's going to be a busy one, but we still have more racing action to get to before we get to our guests. So, how about Accord? Talk to us about that one because I don't want to say it was a controversial race, but definitely some drivers and teams maybe not as happy with the racetrack as
Uh,
you'd like to hear them say.
yeah, so basically they just decided to change up the layout a little bit and move the clay around and put new clay on it, and it didn't sit right, and so it got a little choppy. Uh, Left side, me and Slack were talking about this at lunch when I said, it would have been a good night for torsion bars last night. And he said they could have just switched over to right side panhard bar instead. And then maybe it wouldn't have showed the bumps so much. But the new setup definitely shows the rough, like the coils on the left side panhard shows ruts in the track a little bit. But it was still a pretty decent race in the feature. A little bit cautions, but Matt Williamson started on pole, and Matt Shepard got him on a restart. Matt thought the bottom was where it was at because that's where it was. Like that's where you want it to be once you got rolling on a restart until later on. But yeah, Shepard, when the top started to come in, he got him on the one restart and then kind of checked out. Matt held on for second.
Yep.
And yeah, the track was rough, but they were. Matt said it's going to be a cool layout once they get it. They just maybe, yeah, just wet spring and all that. And yeah, definitely a little choppy to start.
Yeah, I liked Matt was a bit more Matt Williamson was a bit more courteous to the track. I'm looking at his quote here from the press release, but once they get it smoothed out, it'll be good. They did the best they could for us. It's just been tough with the weather to get a new surface down, and it's true, man. Like the weather has just been wreaking havoc across most of the Northeast this year. It feels like most of North America has been affected by weather, one way or another. So I'm just happy we're getting some races in. One race they did not get in this past weekend was the Super DIRTcar Series event at Orange County. Tough break
Almost
there.
got the heats in.
Almost. Yeah, right. So postponed is the way that one's shaking out right now, which
That ruined my Sunday night. I was ready to
is
watch the feature.
yeah, I know you were probably so fired up, right? I
I
was
know.
fired up to see how things are going to shake out in terms of the points because we're going to have Matt Williamson on, and I want to ask him about the point situation. But at this point, it's like there's almost no point. They've only had one actual start count for points this season so far at the
Been
Super
rough.
DIRTcar Series. So, yeah, weather has not been kind to them. Uh, However, the ESS got off to a decent start as well. They got a race in this week.
Yeah, they were at Fonda. Uh, and the main reason I want to talk about it is because I'd run a Panther chassis, and the leader of the Panther gang, Sean Donath, he builds them at his shop in Syracuse, and he got her done past Danny Varon, who was going for 7 360 sprint car wins in a row. That was Patriot and ESS. Patriot has disbanded now, and it's all ESS. But so yeah, Danny Varon led a lot of it, and then just hit a rut wrong with a couple laps to go, and Sean was all over him. But then yeah, took that opportunity and was able to hold on. So congrats to him. And Jordan Poirier, another same as Fulton, where I was when I went. He redrew 12th and got up to 4th. But in his heat race, he had to go to the pits, and I'm not sure what he did. I forget what he did in the pits, but when he came back, he got back to a redraw spot from having to go to the pits and start 10th in the heat. And Jacob Dykstra was down there as well. He was running 13th and got a flat in the feature. And yeah, main thing, shout out to Donath. I was pretty pumped for
Yep.
that.
Yeah, so Donath actually sits second in points, and Jordan Poirier is sitting third for those who are interested. Where Jordan's sitting right now, two top fives. It's a pretty solid start to the year. Everybody chasing. Is it Danny Varon? Am I saying
Danny
that
Varon,
last name
yeah.
right? Yep. All right,
He's
Danny
got two
Varon.
bridesmaids, but equals first in points.
Yeah, you know what?
He's a wheelman.
You gotta stack up the points while you can, right? Sometimes that's the way to a series long championship.
Yep.
So when are you? Are you ready to unveil maybe the next time you're going to join the
Yeah.
ESS, or is that yeah? Do
Uh,
you want to talk about that or no?
Now that we forgot to say this, and when we were talking about what we were going to talk about, Ashweek Speedway might get their track ready to go for their practice on Friday. So now I'm torn. Do I go to Utica Rome, which I was thinking of, or do I go to Ashweek and rip laps and get comfortable there? So right now I'm kind of torn. It will be Utica Rome if I go, but I might go to Ashweek too. I'm not sure yet on
Yeah,
that one.
still
See
trying
where
to
I go.
decide
This is
how it
going to go
plays out.
Friday, so
Yeah,
you'll know where I
yeah.
picked
So
by then.
it didn't look great at the start of the week. There's a lot of construction happening at Oswego Speedway as they were getting ready for the season. But it
Yeah,
sounds
but it
like
just
things are
looked
going to be good to go.
worse than it was. I think we should be all right.
Yeah, so you guys will get out there for a test and tune night on Friday, and then a week from Friday, May 19th, we will be opening things up. A race brought to you by APC Auto Parts Center, the 26th season opening featuring 360s, crate sprints, thunder stocks, and mini stocks, plus the UMP versus Canadian modifieds as well. So Ken Schrader coming up for that one, and we're even going to have a Canadian modified driver on a little later with Leslie Turcotte Mowat, who secured her first win in the Canadian Modifieds at Brighton this past weekend. We'll see if she's going to be part of that show.
Yeah, that'd be cool if she came out. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Uh, the Brighton cars are a little. They got Ashweek and they might be at a little bit of disadvantage. I'm not quite sure the rules, but I think the UMP cars got a little bit more motor, whereas
yeah,
like a track at like Brighton, they're a lot more close. But I'm not sure how it works on that. A lot of Brighton cars still come up though, right? I
yes.
always forget when they're at Ashweek, and I'm guilty of staying in my own pit. Not gonna lie.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now
Well,
that you can
I
watch the
was going to.
track on the live feed now. You don't even have to go
Yes.
up to the track, see the conditions.
Yeah. So how? I was gonna ask you about that. Like, are you gonna be glued to that screen? Are you gonna be trying to learn everything you want? Are you everything you can from that? Are you gonna be somebody who wants to get up to maybe a stand and actually physically watch cars on track, or do you just not want to see
Definitely
anything?
do a little bit of both. Usually,
Yeah.
when like there's a sprint, like say you make it through the heat and there's a sprint car being made up there, probably gander up for that.
Hmm.
But other than that, one thing I want to do this year that I wasn't doing last year is like on Race Monitor, just watching all or Race Monitor or My Race Pass, whichever one. Uh, watch all the classes. So like if the street stocks are slowing down a little bit, obviously the sprint car times will be slowing down a bit. You're gonna know to adjust your setup
Yeah.
correctly like that. A lot of guys do that, so I'm gonna get more on that program. And yeah, I'm just ready to rock.
Yeah.
Starting
I
next
can tell.
weekend, like there's more double weekends than singles on my schedule. So the first one will be Osh weekend, and then Brighton SOS next day, Paul Pacone Memorial. Stoked for that one. I'd really like to
Nice.
win that one for my buddy Paul. I'm not
That would
gonna
be
lie.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to win opening night Osh weekend too. That'd be sweet. But it's gonna be tough
Why
sledding,
not?
man. Whew.
As the famous quote goes from Kawhi Leonard, bleep
Mm,
it, just get both.
yeah, I miss Kawhi. Best
Yeah, me
Raptor
too.
ever.
Yeah, for one season, he's still the best. I love
She's
it.
still the goat.
Still the goat. Well, with all that said, I feel like we've kind of ran through things pretty quickly here, but it's because we do have a jam-packed show of guests. I think for the first time ever, this is going to be 3 proper interviews on the show,
Hmm.
and we're going to get going first with Matt Williamson, and then Alex Riley, and then we'll have Leslie Turcotte Mowat. We'll round out the show with their interviews, and those are coming up next. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway, Southern Ontario's home for Friday night excitement. For over 25 years, Ohsweken Speedway has promoted and played host to sprint car racing with a new season of family-friendly events on the horizon and set to begin May 19th. Catch our own Travis Cunningham as he races weekly in the 360 division each Friday night in pursuit of a season-long championship. The Friday night lineups are rounded out by crate sprints, thunderstocks, and mini-stock divisions as well. In addition to weekly racing, Ohsweken Speedway will also hold several marquee events for the Southern Ontario Sprints, the Action Sprint Tour in their West Series and National Series, as well as a visit from Canada's premier stock car series, the NASCAR Pinty Series, on August 14th and 15th for their only stop on dirt. Mark your calendars as the 3/8 mile dirt track located in Ohsweken, Ontario welcomes drivers from across the country and beyond for the 19th running of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, which is scheduled for September 16th. To keep up to date with the latest news from the track, be sure to find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For track information on policies, admissions, directions, and more, be sure to visit ohswekenspeedway.ca. That's OHSWEKEN Speedway.ca. Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, lots of fun here on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, joined now by somebody who is potentially jumping off the Maple Leaf bandwagon. You heard it here first on the podcast. Breaking news, Matt Williamson might not be a Leaf fan after tonight.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I'm going to try to convert you to the Sabres bandwagon for 2023-24. But right now, we got to talk about the 2023 season, Matt. Thanks for coming back on the show. This is your second appearance. And I was going back and listening to our interview from last year, and I'm very happy that after 50 episodes, I figured out how to make the show sound like I'm not inside a garbage can. And Travis has upgraded things. We're making big moves, Matt, and so are you. It's been I said you were one of the hottest drivers in dirt in general, and that's kind of just how it's been. So just talk to us about the last, excluding the off season. You had some great luck in Florida. You had some great runs down in Charlotte last year. Just talk about the ride you've been on the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. You know what you guys are done for the local area racing is pretty cool. We've never had a podcast to listen to locally, and it's always stuff that has always happened down the States, but we never got it up here. So thank you guys for keeping everybody entertained around here. But yeah, it's been a good year. Obviously, when we're recording this, it's after Accord. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention that or not, but
No, you are, because
yeah,
that's like a year from you
okay,
won it last year.
yeah. So last night we went to Accord and ran second, which we started on the pole. Anytime you go backwards like that, you should be happy with a second place finish, but you're not. So that was a little disappointing. But yeah, it's been a good year. Bridgeport was good to us. Florida was good to us. And obviously we went to Merrittville last Saturday for their opener, and that was good too. So um, been on a little bit of a good run, and hopefully it lasts a little longer than what they normally do. Racing's like waves when they hit the ocean. They're bound to hit the beach at some point in time. So we'll just see how long we can make it last.
Yeah, let's still talk about last night. Definitely a bit of a rough track. Me and Slack were talking. I said it was like I cracked at Slack at lunch. I was like, "Hey, it would have been a good night for torsion bars," but he says maybe right hand panhard bar when it gets like that. But the race kind of got good later on between you and Shepard when he found the top on the restart. So do you think, like what you said in Victory Lane, you think the track's going to be good? All right. Did you think the race at the end, like you and Matt, kind of found a little bit of smooth lines to run?
Yeah, it sucked for me starting on the pole, and I hate starting on the pole. Obviously, it's not a disadvantage at all. I shouldn't say it sucked for me, but it's one of them deals where you just kind of don't know where to be.
Yeah.
Matt didn't have anything to lose at that point. He was second, and he can only go forward, and I can only go backwards. So um, it was one of them deals. Like if I was smart enough, I probably would have went to the top. I called Jeff Barrett today and told him, we had a good car. It wasn't like the car wasn't good enough to win. I think the driver missed his marks on a few restarts, and that's what cost us the win. But um, Matt went to the outside on that restart, and that's how he got by me. And then I kind of found the top of 3 and 4. I think probably a lap or two before he did, and then the caution came out, and he went to the top after that caution. So one of them deals. I mean, it's more about surviving than it is anything else. I mean, Perego came from the back from 20 something to finish third, which obviously shows that you can pass there. But the layout at that truck's going to be pretty cool when they do get it smoothed out.
Yeah, it's great to hear. It's an interesting facility for sure. One that's super unique. One that's also super unique that you captured the checkers at is, of course, Merrittville Speedway. Just talk to us about the home debut and how good it felt to be back on Saturday night, and what was a pretty smooth night for you. A little bit of a challenge from Gary there towards the end of the race, but you really handled business at home.
Yeah, we're really lucky around here to have Merrittville in our backyard. The racetrack itself is probably one of the best racetracks that we get to race on. It's a shame that we don't get to race a series race there, whether it's Short Track Super Series or Super Dirt Series. But I mean, considering the rain we got last week, I went down to Lernerville Friday and it was rough. Went to Bridgeport, it was rough. Went to Accord, it was rough. And then you go to Merrittville and it's literally tabletop smooth, and you can race all over the place. So we're pretty lucky to have that in our backyard. But yeah, it was a good race Saturday. I think that I'm at a little disadvantage with the open motor compared to the W16s with the weight brake and sail panels, but we just keep on trucking and trying to do us, and just worry about ourselves and go out there with the best car possible and try and run the best race possible. I think I made some mistakes as a driver on Saturday, but I think that. I think that I'm going to be in tough if I don't start on the pole against them Wagner motors. Man, Gary was good and Scott Woods was good, and they can get so much side bite with the sail panels, and they don't have that much weight going into the corners. So I think we're going to be in tough this year if we don't end up getting one of them motors. But we'll see how the year plays out. It's certainly going to be competitive, which is good for the fans.
Yeah, it was definitely competitive last year with the number of feature winners and stuff. But we're going to talk about Sunday. So yeah, you got rained out. You're point leader in Super Dirt Series after one race. So and then you Sunday, you're a little bit off. You're going to be starting on the pole of a Consi, I think, before the rain came. So talk about Sunday at Orange
Yeah,
County.
it was. We left early in the morning on Sunday morning after Merrittville on Saturday night and drove down there. Um, Got down and we kind of knew that it was going to rain at some point. But yeah, we were good in hot laps. I think we were second fastest in hot laps. Good in time trials. Put us outside pole in a heat race. It fired off on the heat race, and it didn't feel like the same car that it had in hot laps and time trials. And I think that we just got over exuberated with the racetrack and just tightened the car up too much. And wasn't very good. So when there's 50 something cars, I think there was there on Sunday. When
Yeah.
you don't run good in a heat race, every spot is 5 spots. So you start second. If you finish second, you're going to start 12th. If you finish third, you're going to start 18th, and if you finish fourth, you're going to go to the consi. So that's the tough part about when that many cars show up to a racetrack. You got to be on your mark, and we got ourselves behind the 8 ball with that heat race, and I think that when we do go back, we're going to have to be good in the consi, and we're going to have to be excellent in the feature to not put ourselves behind the 8 ball going into the point season with the Super Dirt Series. So just going to have to rebound. I don't know when they're going to make up the race, but it'll be certainly one that we're going to have to, make sure we pay attention to the notebook and hit our marks on the racetrack and do everything we can right to get back up to the front.
You mentioned the Super DIRTcar Series. Super DIRTcar Series returns to Canada for the first time in a couple years with some races in the summertime. Just how excited are you to race in the homeland, even if it is all the way up in Quebec and up in Brockville? Just talk to us about getting back and representing at home.
Yeah, it's cool. I think that it's a little delayed. They should have probably did it last year, which is probably why Cornwall is not a series race anymore or a Super Dirt Series track. But that's the politics of racing that I'm not involved in. So what we do get to go to is we get to go to Drummondville and Brockville, which is 2 racetracks I've had wins at before. So that's pretty cool. And the fans in Quebec are like no other. I mean, Travis knows they're
Yep.
passionate, and they're they show up like you would for a hockey game. I mean, it's awesome to see when you go there. There's never a shortage of t-shirt sales or people screaming and yelling and having a good time. So super cool. Like I said earlier, super excited. Drummondville is a place that I've probably had the least success at as far as Canadian racetracks, but we got lucky enough to win that race last year. I think we were a 6th place car, and David Hebert ran out of fuel, and we got some late restarts where we could put ourselves in a position to win. But always ran good at Brockville. I'm excited to go back there. Paul and Cheryl do a great job putting on a great facility when we do go there, and it's cool just to go back to Canada. And Short Track Super Series is coming to Canada this year, which is pretty exciting too.
Yeah, I heard Clint. Yeah, was trying to get one at Ashweekend, but he couldn't pair a date. That would have been pretty awesome if he could have pulled that off.
Absolutely, I think the tires around here are going to be somewhat of an issue for the Short Track Super Series.
Definitely, yeah.
With Quebec going to American Racer tires, it's put a lot of people, not so much on the happy end of it, but I think in the long run it might be good for them. And who knows? Time will tell, I guess.
Yep.
So, Matt, thinking about this Super DIRTcar Series championship, and it's obviously super early in the season, but I feel like you must have Matt Shepard circled as your main competition for this championship. What do you feel like it's going to take from you guys to claim the title and knock Matt Shepard off the top step? Is it going to be multiple wins? Do you think you can just kind of consistently point your way in, or what's the strategy to try to win this championship?
Yeah, Matt's obviously really good. He's won, I think, 10 of them or 9 of them or however many. So he's the mark that we want to try and set and try and beat. So it's going to be tough. It's never easy when you're going up against a guy that's won that many, whether it's him or Brett back in the day or whatever it is. So I think that we went to Bridgeport, and last year we had some success at Bridgeport. I think we ran 4th in the series race, but to basically replicate what we did in 2019, where I think our bad runs were 5th and 6th, whereas last year our bad runs were 16th and 15th. So we got to get rid of them. In 2019, we finished every lap of every race, never went down a lap. Every heat race we finished. So that's what we're going to try and do. That's the only thing we can do is focus on ourselves and try and be the best we can, and hopefully it all plays out in the end. So that's kind of our plan right now. Obviously, after Sunday at Orange County, we know what we did when we made a mistake in the heat race, and we can't do that. You can't be going to these races and starting 21st and hoping to win. So we'll have to turn. It's probably a good thing that it rained out, because we'll have to turn our heads into some pretty magical things to come from 21st and get back into the top 5. But I think that we've got the cars and the people to do it behind me. So just have to focus when we get to that point when they do reschedule that race.
All right, I got a nifty one. A lot of people think it's real cool to be a professional race car driver and all that stuff, and they think it's great and easy peasy. But just talk about the driving you've done in the last couple of days, because like you were at Orange County for Sunday for a rain out, and I figured you'd stay down there, but I know you and Randall didn't, because I saw you both at the shop. I didn't see you, but I heard you were there, and so like you drove all the way home, like whatever that is, 7 hours, and then back to Accord like a couple of days later, which is pretty much in the same region. So talk about those trips the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's pretty glorious sometimes, but I mean, it's tough where we live. Like, you look at a guy like Shepard, for example. We're talking about Matt. He's 2.5 hours closer to every one of these racetracks than I am. So that's 5 hours a trip that he doesn't have to worry about driving, or it's 5 hours a trip that he can work on his race car. So this area that we live in is pretty tough for going down to Orange County, Accord, Lebanon Valley, Albany, Saratoga. Those are all 4 or 5 hour trips, 6 hours this weekend. So last night, it's as we're talking about this, it's 8:20 p.m. We left the racetrack last night at 11 and got home at 4:30. I woke up at 9 and got to the race shop for 9:30, and now I'm going home at 8:30. So 11-hour days after getting 4 hours of sleep, maybe 3 hours of sleep last night. It's not very glorious, but I got some pretty good crew guys that go with me. I'm actually pretty lucky. I mean, they still got full-time jobs. Ray and Coco and Anthony and
Yep.
whoever else goes on the road with me normally has to get back to go to work in time. So I just finished having dinner with Ray and Wayne, and Ray looked a little tired. He had to work today at I think 5:30. I think he said to me that he didn't sleep at all last night, but he slept in the truck a little bit. He was sawing logs, pulling the upholstery off the roof of the truck last night.
That's good.
That's awesome. All right, Matt. Well, we'll let you get out of here on this one and finally get home for a little bit of rest. We asked you last year about combination of car and track that you would pick if you could only drive one place and one type of race car. This time, I want you to think about all the different tracks that you've been to. Maybe pick some of your favorite elements. I'm going to give you an unlimited plot of land somewhere in Southern Ontario and an unlimited budget to build any kind of facility that you want. You can either make a copycat of a track you've been to, or maybe mix and match a couple different racetracks. What are you building?
That's a good one. I would probably try and take a little bit of like what Brighton Speedway has, as far as like elbows up racing, and try and mix it with a little bit of Fulton or Ohsweken, where it's really wide, gets slippery, but still has some speed. So that would be tough to come up with what you would want it to look like in the end. But I feel like up here where Ohsweken can be pretty rough, fast, slow. It kind of gets characteristic and has all sorts of different kind of ways that it turns out to be for race night. But for the modified stuff, I mean, Merrittville's typically dry and slippery. Weedsport's dry and slippery. Canandaigua was dry and slippery. It'd be nice if we could like mix in like a little bit of what Brighton turns into, or Volusia, and then put the grandstands from Charlotte there, and you'd have a pretty world-class facility.
For sure. No, I like that combination. That sounds like a good one. Matt, thanks so much for taking the time after what has been a crazy weekend for you. Keep up the winning, keep up the success, keep representing Southern Ontario across the Northeast and beyond in the modifieds, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys, and thanks for what you guys are doing for racing in the area. It's certainly getting it public and getting it to more ears and eyes, and hopefully those people put butts in the grandstand. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, man. It means a lot coming from you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, buddy. Matt Williamson on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast.
The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products. The last 40 years plus have seen Bicknell Racing Products grow to be an industry leader for racers and enthusiasts alike. Their St. Catharines location is home to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing and retail space, with a second store in Niagara Falls, New York, and a dealer network that continues to grow day by day to serve Southern Ontario, Western New York, and beyond. Bicknell Racing Products distributes Hoosier tires for much of Eastern Canada, New York, and even parts of Pennsylvania. BRP has everything you could need to keep your car performing at its peak, with genuine parts from the manufacturer. They even have a technical support line committed to helping you with the most up-to-date information and feedback from racers and crew chiefs. Have you ever thought about a career in the automotive or racing industry? Now is your chance to take the leap with Bicknell Racing Products. They are looking for CNC machine operators, welders, and more to join their team this season. Please send all resumes to Dana Curving at BicknellRacingProducts.com. That's DANACURVIN at BicknellRacingProducts.com. For further information on Bicknell Racing Products and to find a dealer near you, visit BRP online at www.BicknellRacingProducts.com or on Facebook or at twitter.com/BicknellRacing.
All right, and now on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show, we welcome in Alex Riley, who captured the checkers at Merrittville Speedway on Saturday night in the four-cylinder. How's things going, Alex?
They're going good. It's been a good week so far, and yeah, good things are going great.
Yeah, it's been a solid return to racing at Merrittville. So just I guess let's start from the beginning with you and where when and where you got into racing and kind of got the bug to start racing.
For sure, yeah. So this is my 17th season actually of racing. So I started racing back in 2006, and my cousin and I we shared a car for a season. And then after that, it's pretty much just been me all the way since. He did it for a couple years after that, but it's been my dad and I since the very beginning. So we raced 7 years of go-karts, and now we're on our 10th season of stock car racing at Saturday nights at Merrittville. So it's been quite the journey. We've gone through multiple different types of cars, learned a lot, struggled a lot throughout the way as well. But it's been a great experience, something that I definitely cherish with my dad.
Yeah, talk about so like you were just in racing a little bit the last couple of years, right? So talk about
Yes.
like how it was being out of it for that long and then jumping in and getting her done.
Yeah, so I moved away to go to college in 2018. So that was my last season, was the summer of 2018. And throughout the years of my college and through COVID, I didn't really get out on the track too much. The odd time out here or there. Last year we ran part of the season, didn't have too much luck. But this year we're going in full time, and it was a big jump for sure because we were changing cars and there was a lot to learn with this new car. So that definitely led to a whole new set of challenges. But taking those 4 years off of full time racing gave my dad and I rejuvenated energy to come back this year and fight our battles and take the time to learn and understand the car. And it's been great. I think it showed on Saturday night that the car's fast, and it's something that I'm looking forward to with driving the rest of the season.
Yeah, you mentioned the change in the car, and that's actually something I had the chance to talk to your dad a little bit about in the preseason, making that switch from kind of the Volkswagen style stuff, the hatchbacks that we had seen for kind of dominate the four-cylinder class for a hot minute there, and now it seems like everybody's making that change to that kind of Cobalt G6 style car. So, what's been the biggest adjustment so far for you getting back into that different car?
The biggest thing for me is this thing has a rev limiter on the Volkswagen. We were GIS, not computerized, so I didn't have to worry about hitting the chip or anything. So that's definitely the biggest thing I've noticed so far. And the car is a lot wider and longer in comparison to the Golf. Um, it it drives similarly. I find that the way I have it set up right now, the rear end doesn't kick out as much, and it handles what I find a lot better. And of course, the pull out of the corners, it's kind of tough to top that.
Yeah. So last year you were driving a Golf too. Like what cars were you driving when you were running just like a couple times?
So last year I was racing with Austin Worstrow. Used
Right.
his car, used his backup car for about half the season, and then some logistics didn't quite work out, and we had to we just kind of went our separate ways last year. I was going through some stuff with work and everything, and it just made more sense for me to kind of back off a little bit and figure out what's going on in my life before I was focusing on racing.
And now you're back with
Build
the
the
TMR
G6.
guys, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Now we're back. Now we're back with all the TMR guys. Kyle built the car. Tyler helped us set it up, and Clint's been there the whole time as well, giving me pointers along the way. So nothing but good things to say about those guys. They've been with me and they've been my friends since I started all of this, and they're definitely great, and I love them all. So yeah.
And what you mentioned Tyler helping you out with the setup of things, and obviously he's going to be kind of a big missing presence from the four cylinders with how dominant of a season he had in 2022. Now he's making the jump up to Hoosier stocks. Do you kind of feel like the door is wide open for yourself or somebody to kind of take the ball and run with it and be the dominant driver, or do you predict a season where it's going to be kind of all over the place and there's going to be 6 or 7 guys who maybe end up with, and girls I should say, with Hannah Rothwell as well, 6 or 7 drivers who end up with wins?
I think this season it's going to be wide open. I mean, you saw on Saturday night, Cole Hardy that was his race to lose. He was far and ahead away of the field, and he's going to be definitely a top guy this year. Clint, Austin, Hannah, Nick Erskine, those were just some of the guys that were up front Saturday, and I think there's more coming. It's the first week, and I think we'll still see a lot more drivers in victory lane this year, and I'm excited. It'll be a fun challenge. I think I'm going to miss racing with Tyler on a weekly basis, but in the same breath, it also opens up checkered flag for the rest of us.
Yeah, you guys were the only division on Saturday where like it wasn't the same guys that just got done winning last year. But what I want to ask you is, like, I've known you since your go-kart years. You've always been 17. Why'd you pick 17?
So it goes all the way all to sorry, it goes to NASCAR. So Matt Kenseth is my
I
favorite
knew.
driver.
Yeah.
So it kind of just all made sense. I remember when I was younger, my dad asked me what color I wanted to paint my room. So I had a DeWalt yellow room
Nice.
with a checkered flag wall. We had a checkered flag painted on the wall. So it's always been 17, and the DeWalt 17 car is sort of my iconic favorite car.
So you must be pretty
Nice.
jealous that Trevor Wright's got the kind of black and yellow DeWalt car this year. It's up there in modifieds, right? You're like, oh, maybe I should have got a sponsorship with them this year.
Oh yeah, his car looks sweet. It's definitely bringing back some nostalgia for me. So
It
that's
does look
for
good.
sure.
Yeah. I do want to talk to you about your car and obviously your involvement with your dad's business and everything that Vansicle Pet Value and Lundy's Lane Pet Value have done and continue to do for dirt racing in this community. So just maybe if you could kind of speak to the ticket program that you guys have got going on at the stores this year and how, race fans and teams and drivers can come and grab their, whether it be grandstand tickets or even their pit passes kind of ahead of time and hopefully help skip the line a little bit.
For sure, yeah. So if you were at the track early on Saturday, you saw the big line that was outside of the pit gate. Fortunately, if you go to either of his 2 stores, he has 3, but the only 2 stores that are offering the tickets are Vansicle Pet Value and Pet Value PV on the Lane. So that's on Lundy's Lane Pet Value. You can go in and you can buy pit passes, grandstand passes. They have adult, senior, and child, so they have all the options. And you essentially get to skip the line. So the pit side has introduced a new driver's line, and in that line as well, you can also use those pre-bought tickets. To my understanding, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And you get to skip the line. You present them your ticket, and you can pretty much skip the line. What's nice is you can pay with credit and debit at the store, so it's not just limited to cash only. So it's the options are open.
Yeah, it's a super convenient thing, and I remember when your dad kind of called us and talked about maybe getting involved with this show too. It kind of made sense to me. I was like, yeah, why should the drivers have to jump out of their trailers if they can go ahead and get these passes ahead of time and go right on in and get working away on their race cars and save themselves a little bit of time and maybe a little bit of a headache stacking things up at the front. Something else that was kind of unique that you kind of benefited from with the pet value business is the Dunville draw. So this year with the Dunville store, you guys are going to have an extra $50 up to one random driver who's going to be selected in victory lane. And of course, the way it had to work out, your first win back and driving the Pet Value car, you pull P1 out of the hat. So did you take your dad out for the breakfast or something with that extra $50? How'd that play out?
Yeah, I figured after all he's done for me this offseason, that was the least I could do. So I have to treat him to a nice bottle of wine, or at least a breakfast. So he's yeah, it was quite funny how that worked out. We definitely weren't expecting that, so it's quite funny to see.
But I guess just speak to, that extra $50 that, assuming it doesn't go to just the winner and it gets sprinkled throughout the field to, maybe somebody who finishes 13th or 14th, 15th. Talk to us about how much of a difference that extra $50 can make in a division like four cylinders, where, we think of it as the cheaper division, but it's still racing. It's still expensive to do.
For sure. So once you basically get out of the top 10, you're only bringing back your entrance fee. You're bringing in your gate fee. So with getting that extra $50, you can either bring in an extra crew member. It can give you almost an oil change, fill you up with gas, just that extra little bit. It'll help. And it'll help essentially any team because the extra money always helps. Like I said, getting that extra person in the gate with you, having that extra help, keeping the car well maintained. That's what we're all here for. We all want to kind of keep our cars good and up to snuff, so we're all having good competitive races on Saturday nights.
Yeah, for sure.
My last one, I guess. Talk about your go-kart career. Was it just Merrittville, or I forget what kids you raced with, like Randy Giroux and stuff?
So I mostly raced with Dylan Davidson, Steven Beckett, Tyler Winger, bunch of those guys. I know Tyler Winger and Dylan Davidson both beat me out of multiple championships. It was mostly Dylan my whole time. I have a lot of second place trophies with Dylan in first. So it was fun. We raced mostly at Merrittville. We never really did much tour racing. We went to Oswego the odd time, and I think that was definitely the fastest I've ever gone in a go-kart. Driving around their little push track in a go-kart is a fun experience.
Yeah,
it's
big for a kart track, small for a push track.
Oh yeah, it's big for a go-kart track. You kind of just send it into the corner and wait till the car sticks for it to pull you around.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, we'll get you out of here on this one, Alex. Gonna give you one kind of race car, one racetrack to drive at for the rest of your life. It can be somewhere you've ran before and something you've ran before. It could be a total fantasy car like Formula One at Monaco. What's your choice?
That's a tough one. I mean, I've always been a fan of 410 sprint cars. I love watching the World of Outlaws. I know I'd love to see them at. I think honestly, 410 sprint cars at Knoxville, I think would be a fun chance to drive and fun thing to do for the rest of my life. But right now, I just love racing mini stock. The guys that I race with, the community that we've built here, it makes it fun. I've had a lot of people ask me, why don't I move up? Why don't we try something new? And it all just comes down to the people that we race with. We don't need to go fast to have fun. Well, we're going fast, but we don't need to be as fast as the other cars to have the fun. We got our great crew, great group of guys, great group of people, I guess, because we got girls now coming in, which is awesome to see. So yeah, mini stock racing around here is definitely blown up, and I'm very happy to be a part of it and back full swing.
Well, we look forward to seeing you go for the championship this year and represent that division really, really well as it continues to be an ever-growing and one of the more fun series to watch at Merrittville and around Southern Ontario. Alex Riley, thank you for taking the time to join us on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show.
Thank you.
Folks from Van Sickle Pet Value and PV on the Lane aren't just fans of your favorite four-legged friends, they are race fans too. That's why Jeff and Rhonda Riley, as well as their staff, have teamed up with Merrittville Speedway to make your race day experience more convenient. Race fans can now pick up tickets for race nights while grabbing the highest quality food, treats, toys, and accessories for their pets from the St. Catharines and Niagara Falls locations. Each grandstand ticket will also have a voucher that can be used in-store for a free pet bath at their dog wash stations. Drivers and crew members can also skip the line by purchasing pit passes in-store, giving them more time to get their rides ready for Saturday nights. Check out Van Sickle Pet Value across from Best Buy and Walmart on 4th Avenue in St. Catharines, and PV on the Lane at the corner of Kayla Road and Lundy's Lane, Highway 20.
And joining us now on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, it's Leslie Turcotte Mowat, who's coming off a huge win over the weekend at Brighton. So, Leslie, first of all, welcome to the show, and talk to us about the score and the big win to start the year.
Yeah, thanks for the invite to the podcast. Yeah, going into the season opener, we felt quite confident ending the season, but I was still struggling a bit with a few things with the car. Feeling confident with some entrance issues. So over the winter time, we did some changes, and we're hoping to get out for test and tune, but that was canceled. So we went into opening night just kind of blind, and like I'm kind of still in shock, to be honest, that we got a double win. Yeah, I just feel like the night just went great.
Tell us more about the race. Like, did you lead the whole thing, or like tell us about the intricacies of the race?
Yeah, so we had to start drawing positions for our heat race. Drew pole, which was exciting. So we won our heat. I had a little fella beside me want to know if he could draw for my feature position, and I thought, yeah, sure, why not? He drew me pole position for the feature. Now, going into our feature, the track conditions were really great considering all the wild rain that we had here in Brighton. It was just like a week straight full of rain. So track conditions were really good considering, um, but still not fantastic. But starting out front, I was really confident that if I was smooth, consistent, hit my marks, and I didn't mess up, I could really have a good chance of it being my night. And we did have a couple cautions. I definitely had a bit of a lead. 9 to go. I started restart with on the pole. Outside was Ronnie Wadsworth. I seen him outside of me, and I thought, man, this guy's really good on the outside. I'm kind of good on the inside. This is gonna go either way. But I mean, I had led every lap, and I wasn't about to just give up. I thought this is gonna be our night. So we restarted, and Ronnie and I had a nice little battle for a lap or two, and then we took the checkers. So that was quite exciting.
So you kind of mentioned that you guys kind of got off on a bit of maybe like a blind draw really here. You didn't really know what to expect with no practice. Do you think that's something that played into your hands, or do you think that's a challenge that maybe you personally would have preferred to have some practice?
Um, I'm going into my 17th season of racing, so I may be a little veteran racer at Brighton Speedway. So the confidence of the driving in the car wasn't my biggest concern. My biggest concern was getting stronger. We were a top 5 car last year, and last year we had Wade Purchase, who was a very strong contender. We had Sean Gregory, Ronnie Wadsworth, a bunch of those guys. And if I wanted to beat them, I had to figure out what my issues were. Over the winter, we did some research. My husband's very smart. We looked into a little bit of things setup wise. So for me, I thought all I really need is just some test laps. That's all I need. But then we changed everything for test and tune. And when we got rained out all 3 nights, we actually did a bunch of reversing, and we went back to where we left off last year. And I think that was a decision that I made for myself because, I was comfortable where I was last year. And knowing where I was last year and not knowing setup wise what we did change, I felt like it was a very safe move for us. And it just happened to be everything fell in our favor. Like, I got pole position for my heat race. Bentley, little guy beside us, he drew me a pole position for my feature. It was kind of one of those things where everything just it fell in your favor, and it seemed to be really too good to be true, right? Um, and I did feel quite confident going into the feature, knowing that I knew what my car was going to do, how it was going to react, being smooth and confident and hitting my marks.
So you mentioned your husband Warren. So I know him pretty good from him, his family being customers of my dad back in the day in the engines. So you
Yes.
two are like my favorite couple on Facebook to watch bicker at each other. That's to start with. It is the best.
Yeah, I think he's pretty smart. That's for sure. I mean, I
He
love
is
doing
real
that.
smart.
He is. He is. He's really the brains behind the operation. And I kind of just show up and hope that I make it look good.
How'd you guys obviously met at the track? Or no?
Yeah, it's actually like our family is a long lineage of like racing history. Like his dad raced against my grandpa, and then that was kind of a big battle in the Mowat and the Cormier battle. Back at Brighton Speedway. One was beating the other, but the other one beat the other, and then all of a sudden, Warren and I met, and my grandfather was long out of racing, and he had said, no, there's like too much into racing. Like that's just, it can't happen. Like you need a crew, you need a car, you need sponsors, you need all these things. First of all, I'm not doing it all. And then I meet Warren, and kind of that's where it all began. We got together, and everybody kind of thought, oh my God, Willard Cormier's granddaughter and Kirk Mowat's son. Like that's wild. Um, but honestly, that's where it kind of was like, that's where it all began, and family dinners got kind of interesting from there, but it was super fun. And yeah, that's where it all began. I started off in the
Talk.
4-cylinder class.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. Just talk about all the different classes. 'Cause I know you've won in the 4 cylinders and street stocks too, right?
Yeah, actually, so Saturday night, we were talking about this, and I've won a feature in every class that I've driven. I started off in the Comfort class. Grandpa said, you need to find a car. That's your problem. You find a car, we'll talk. I found a scrapyard that sponsored me this Honda Civic that we knew nothing about. And the thing was slower than a snail. But anyway, that's where it all started off from. I started off in Comfort class. We went into the Pro Stock. Then I drove a Canadian mod. Warren and I kind of switched that. We went back and forth. We did drive two cars for quite some time. I do have a soft spot in my heart for a Camaro Thunderstock. That's what I grew up watching my grandfather in. So that is like, my heart will always be with the Thunderstock class. But then we kind of got into some ODC changes, rule changes, and I didn't really want to change my standard into an automatic. So I have my Camaro sitting in the garage now, and that's where we went off to the Canadian mod. So I started racing in 2006. So it's been 17 seasons, and I have won in every class that I've raced in.
That's
It's kind
awesome.
of exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the Canadian Modifieds, and we're a show that's presented by Oshweekend Speedway, and obviously Canadian mods are going to be there May 19th. Do you like to travel with the Canadian mods? Do you like to stick close to Brighton? What does the racing season look like for you in terms of where you want to take that Canadian mod to?
Yeah, I do love to travel and see different tracks. I've always been to, I'm a lover of Cornwall. I used to love taking the Thunderstock there. Brockville's also a favorite. So I do love to travel. So yeah, we definitely went to Oshwegan last year, raced with Schrader, which was super fun. We do plan on being there May 19th, and see where that takes us. I do love to travel anywhere that we can go. I know the Canadian mod isn't really a class where there is too much traveling, but they are starting to open up a few tracks, in case we're interested. So I do foresee myself heading wherever that class may take us.
She'll go wherever there's a race.
I would race. I would race every day of the week. I would.
Love it.
That's awesome. That's like the biggest attitude I find with drivers. The drivers who are really enjoying themselves and having fun, they always talk about they don't want to break, they don't want to take time off. But you're somebody with a family life too, and most drivers have family lives, but to have both your husband involved as well as you, how do you guys manage family life and racing life, and are you bringing the little ones along to be racers themselves, or are they pit crew members? What does family life look like while you're trying to run and drive in a race team?
Yeah, we don't have any kids, so it's just us, and we it's not every day you get a couple where husband and wife really love and are passionate about the same thing, where we can be in the same room all the time, night and day, and share a love for multiple different things. I feel like that's where it is. It's a family tradition, most of all, and the dedication and the commitment that comes with it is super strong. Here we are, just a little team, but the dedication and is next to none. That's just what we do.
I'm like I've got like so many questions to ask because Brighton is one of those tracks that I haven't actually had a chance to go and visit Brighton, but everybody we talk to about Brighton speaks so highly of the facility. So, just from your perspective, Leslie, what do you think of uh, the the facility at Brighton? Why should somebody maybe from Southern Ontario, from the Niagara region, like we are, why should we take a trip up there this summer?
Definitely Brighton is one of those tracks. If you've traveled around, Brighton, the show is the show is fast. Like, Mark puts on a great show, Mark and Angie. They put a lot of time and dedication into everything. The grounds are great, the staff is great. But the organization, like, it's like boom, bing, bang. Like, opening night, they started off with a 40 lap MLA race and, late models. And I thought, oh my God, like, this race, there's probably going to be a lot of cautions due to track condition, but it, it literally, I think it went like green to checkered. I don't even know if there was one caution, to be honest. I was in my car. I didn't get the chance to watch much, but the night went by. It was like not even 10 o'clock, and the show's through. It's great.
They do run a fast paced show. That's my favorite part about Brighton.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the tracks where they do put on an amazing show, and it definitely shows when you're watching it, and when you're in the pits. You got to be on track because things move fast, and it's a good thing.
Something else I wanted to ask you about, Leslie, is this is the first time we've had the chance to talk to a
Yep.
female driver on the program, and uh, I've kind of dragged my fiance Kyra into the racing world. First, she was a scorer with me working up in the tower at Merrittville Speedway, and now both of us are getting ready to suit up for our first kind of year racing, doing an arrive and drive program out in Hamilton. And I just want to get the perspective of, do you feel any sort of, not necessarily pressure, but do you feel a responsibility to represent for young women who might be in the stands, or maybe there's other women who are in the pit area that look to you as a leader in your sport for women?
Yeah, I definitely get the starting off in 2006, I was young, going into like a male dominated sport. There wasn't really a lot of females racing at the time, so I feel like it was um maybe a little harder to make presence, to make people know that I was like I was there, and I meant business, um
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of had to start off a little aggressive, um you know
Yep.
maybe not to get pushed around, just kind of have that, and to work your way into it. But absolutely, when people find out that Warren goes around and talking to people, and they're like, oh, you were out there, and he's like, no, that's my wife. And they're like, your wife, a girl? And he's like, yes, my wife drives that. So people are like, well, you must have been out there driving it. And he says, no, that's Leslie. So I still get that to this day. People are still
Warren's a good driver, but you're better.
He's
Warren can drive too, but
Warren
he's definitely a better mechanic. You're the driver.
Yeah, Warren can drive. Warren can drive too, but honestly, Warren likes working on them. And when we were driving 2 cars, he wasn't able to watch me very much to focus on things that I was doing. So he loves a good challenge, and working on it and building it is definitely his forte.
Yeah, super talented fabricator. For people that don't know.
Yes.
Yep.
That's awesome. Leslie, we'll get you out of here on this one. This is kind of like our catch-all question, the one that we ask everybody who comes on and visits with us on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. And the question is, I'm going to give you one kind of race car. It can be literally something you've driven most of your life. It can be something that you've never had a chance to drive but have desperately always wanted to try, and one racetrack to drive it at. What's the pick? What's the combination that you go for?
I think the thing that I haven't raced, I would definitely probably a late model at Eldora. I think that would probably be up on anybody's bucket list. That would be, we were talking about that, how late model is something I haven't drove, and it would be quite exciting to get that opportunity.
That'd be sweet. Go kick Brandon's butt. Is he still in the late model, or is he crate sprint now?
He's still doing the late model, but he does have a sprint car that I believe he might be racing at Oshwegan opening night. Yeah,
sweet.
So we'll be there. Brandon will be there. Test and Tune, he did say that I could have the opportunity to take out the sprint car, but that was canceled too. But why
one night after the races,
an offer.
Yeah,
exactly.
That sounds good too. We could definitely do that.
Yeah, one night after the races at Brighton for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see you in a crate sprint.
So that and you mentioned the late model, and
cool.
Obviously late models have a place at Brighton. Have you ever thought about jumping in late models at Brighton?
I mean, yeah, the thoughts crossed my mind. I think the thing with that is that we're just a pretty small team, so the budget for a late model, I mean, I know what Brandon spends in his, and sometimes the dollar signs are bigger than my pocket, so
Yeah, fair enough. Totally fair.
Yeah, the late model is definitely, if you don't go into that, I mean, we go into the mod, and I mean, weren't smart. We have what we need, and the parts are great, but I mean, when you get into a late model, you just can't run used stuff, like that's a class that you need to have. You need to have what you need to have, and they're expensive. So without good sponsors behind you, that class is hard.
Yeah, for sure. Leslie, thank you so much for taking the time and being a part of the show. This has been a jam-packed 50th episode for us, and it's great to talk to somebody again, get some more representation from Brighton. It is definitely a track that is on my list to get to this year, so I will do my best to find my way out to Brighton somehow. I know there's a lot of conflicts with Merrittville Speedway on a Saturday night, but we can make it happen.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you. That's for sure.
I'll be there. I'll come say hi.
Yeah, you're gonna get down
Sounds
there
good.
a couple times.
Yeah.
We'll make sure. Awesome. We'll make sure Warren's there too.
Yeah, I always try to say hi to him when I'm up there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time, like I say, and good luck the rest of the way in 2023. And we can't wait to see you at Oshwegan as well coming up. Leslie Mowat on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show presented by Oshwegan Speedway and Bicknell Racing Products. Like what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Connect with us on Facebook at Southern Ontario Dirt Show, or find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SODS_pod. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.